Back again for another video. On today's topic, we'll be talking once again, about a woman's place in this world. So I've ran across plenty of women, and I think this is a mature thing. This is a conscious thing, a consciousness thing, because women, they only come to react to things in retrospect, whereas men, we kind of go into things with a set of things that we're going to do, that we're going to accomplish. We come in with an idea of the way things should be, whereas women, on the other hand, they tend to, and this is just purely from my experience and what I understand, but they tend to be more reactive rather than proactive. And the difference in those two is, I believe, understanding, because proactiveness insinuates that that there's a direction that you need to go in, meaning you understand something. You understand that this is something that you want to do or accomplish. And rather, in contrast, reactiveness is a set of movements that is based upon what you previously been through, that you now understand. And that's how I kind of view men and women. I view, once again, women to be more reactive than proactive. And the difference in this is the mind and the body. Once again, the mind definitely reacts to the environment through the apparatus of the body, right? All of your functions, all of your sensory organs, your touch, your sight, your hearing, all these things. You hear you sleep at night and you hear something break in the living room, or somewhere in your house. You're going to react to that, right? So I'm not purely saying that there's no such thing as men reacting and there's no such thing as women being proactive. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that when it comes to life itself, this is how I see it. This is the macro versus the micro. The micro is, yes, men and women both do proactive and reactive responses, but in the way that a man goes about life, he has a goal that he sees 10, 15, 20 years down the line of where he is going to be exactly at that point in his life. He knows exactly how much money he's going to have. He knows exactly where he's going to be. He knows exactly who he's going to be around, what people may be in his life, etc. He has this mental picture. And most times when men shoot, the accuracy in which one hits the target is based upon their practice. It's based upon their skill level, right? You pull back the bow, you aim it up, and you let it fly. And there goes the 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and boom, you hit your target, right? Whereas women don't operate like that. Women don't operate like that at all. And I know there are going to be some women who push back on this. Of course, there are going to be some women who are definitely going to say, no, I planned this out. But did you really? Did you really? Because women tend to largely behave in a way that they are not agents in their own lives. I see it all the time. This is where the victim culture comes from. Victim culture does not come from men. Let's just get that straight. Because men, not only are we headstrong in our direction, and what happens, we take it as we take it on the nose, and we move on from that a lot of times, and we grow as a result from that a lot of times. Whereas women, they don't normally do that. This is the reason why they keep repeating these processes, because they think that it's not the method, it's the environment. They don't look at themselves to say there's something wrong with me. It's not anyone else. They think because they change a person, once again, they use the same tools that they bring from the last situation to the new situation, that somehow they're going to overcome everything. And if everything doesn't get overcame, then it's something wrong with what they're working on, what their tools are being used on. That's ridiculous. But once again, this comes from a mindset of reactivity versus proactivity. I once made a model a long time ago, and I was giving it to my submissive in the way of how her own dysfunction works. For instance, when a person is in their emotions, they're reactive. When a person makes a decision on something and they thought about it, that is proactive. That is action. That is taking the steering wheel of the car and driving in a direction. Whereas, going by your emotions is always going to put you at a disadvantage. Well, I'm not going to say always. It's going to put you at a disadvantage in most cases where you're making decisions that are going to alter the future direction of where you want your arrow to go from that 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. If you use emotion as your compass, you're going to be all over the place. That is a really bad compass for direction. It's like a broke compass. You can't use that here. You can't use that for the physical world. A lot of women believe that they can use their emotions to alter reality. No, the only thing you're altering is your level of delusion when you try to use your emotions to alter the reality. And what I mean by your level of delusion is your level of perception of what the reality is. Like, you can be looking at a wall and you can feel in your heart, in your soul, that this wall is not there, and then poof, it magically disappears. But you get up and you try to walk through it, and we see what happens, right? This is how I view a lot of women in relationships and how they go about living their lives. They live their lives in a state where they believe that emotions reign supreme. The reason why they do this is because emotions reign supreme within them. They don't understand this, that you can't just apply the internal intangible to the external in such a way. Only men are able to do that at a large degree that it affects the world, meaning that we actually use the intangible world to come up with the ideals, creations, the pathways that we do the 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and we start to actually use that as fuel to set the physical world in motion, meaning that we actually get up and do something about this. We have a plan, whereas women look at it the opposite way. They think that emotions are some magical thing, like they're casting spells or something. That's the reason why women resonate with that types of stuff, because it doesn't involve them actually taking any agency over the direction that they want things to go. It's let me pray, to my ancestors. Not saying that there is no validity in that, but it's more of a way for them to passively access a direction rather than actually getting up and doing something about it themselves. This is the culture that we live in. This is how, especially RBW women, RBWs have been groomed. They've been groomed to take no agency over their lives, that everything as a result in their lives is someone else's fault. This is the sickness of reaction. It's the sickness of reaction. Sometimes you have to be reactionary. I talk about Pimp God a lot on my channel because I listen to him a lot in my spare time. But he says a lot of things that are pieces to the puzzle that I use to build the bigger picture of a lot of the things that I explain. And that goes for a lot of men in the manosphere. They say some things that they may be using as a small piece in order to build their full rhetoric. I take that small piece and I expand upon it because I see through that piece of the lens a wider environment that has not been broached upon in regards to the way that I explain things. But he said that you should listen to a woman, that you should let a woman explain herself, that you should give a woman an opportunity to express the things that she wants to say at length in the way that she wants to say them. And this is reactionary. this is a proactive thing that you could be practicing, but the act of listening is reactionary, right? Because without someone speaking, there is nothing to listen to, right? Reactionary just implies there was something that caused another thing to be in motion, right? But the problem that women run into is that they use this for everything. For everything. They are low agents in their own existence. So they are in a constant state of reaction. And this reaction, just like I was explaining earlier, is an unconscious state. It's an unconscious state of mind. You ever been driving and you were going somewhere and you just blanked out, right? For a little bit, not for a long time, not enough time to, cause a scene, make an accident or anything like that, but enough time to go from point A to point B. And you realize that the point B area that you wanted to go into is not what you intended to do, right? This is a reaction, because this is something that is subconsciously programmed into you to autopilot yourself into a direction. Meaning that it's like, have you ever seen those drones that you send them up, you can play with them or whatever, you can do recordings, but when the battery gets low, it has an auto homing mechanism in it, meaning that it's going to come back to the point of origin from which it was sent from, because the battery's getting low, right? They have drones that do that. And this is kind of what we do as humans sometimes. But this is largely what women do, because they function in a very unconscious state, because they're always reactionary. Remember, there has to be a set of things in motion before you get to the point where there's a reaction. And this is the same thing of no agency, meaning that there is something that happened in their lives that they choose to fixate upon instead of realizing where they actually took action or no action at all. And they let other things drive them into a certain direction, and then they cry victim, right? But whereas men do it too, don't get me wrong. Men, they sometimes do not take accountability for self and accountability for their own existence. There's a saying out there, I forgot what philosopher said it, but he said that no answer is still an answer. And it goes the same for many other things, that no action is still an action. And people would say, nah, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, let's really think about this. If I walked out into the street and I just stood there, right? I just stood there, I didn't do anything wrong, and someone came and hit me, I could blame that person and be like, you hit me, I was in the street. But their argument would be, why were you standing in the street anyways? And you see me coming and you didn't get out the way. That's a choice, right? Because upon recognizing that there are things in motion that I could actually do to prevent an outcome, I did not choose that. But in not making that choice, that is a choice to not do anything about the circumstances, to steer them in a different direction, right? So therefore I was hit. So I hold some culpability in the outcome of me being struck. Yes, we could all say that I'm a victim of being hit by a car, but I'm also a victim of inactivity as well, right? That is an answer still, regardless of how you look at it. That is still an answer, because I chose, right? I made a choice not to do anything. No answer is still an answer. No choice is still a choice. You can choose not to do things, but that's still a choice that you're making, right? Because remember, my body, my choice. Women can choose not to do anything. They can choose also to do something. But the crazy part about this is that, the my body, my choice rhetoric implies that women understand agency. I haven't met a woman who does not understand that trope of, I can't necessarily call it a trope because they actually mean it, but I call it a trope because they imply that they understand agency, but then when it comes to other things, they have no agency all of a sudden. over their own body. For instance, someone who's addicted to drugs, they apply that it's their choice to do drugs, but they also apply that it is an addiction that they have no control over. Like, pick a struggle here. I don't know. Women, they apply that it's their body, their choice, and it has been for a long time. Even before we even made that statement as a society, it has been just that. It's just that the statement now solidifies the tangible proof that it is their body, their choice. But yet and still, we have a lot of women complaining about the outcomes of their own decision. And it is now somebody else's fault that they chose to do with their body what they wanted to. Doesn't that sound strange? I don't know. I'm not getting into political debates because, I'm apolitical. I don't necessarily believe in these things in so many ways. But that doesn't mean that I don't acknowledge their existence. It's just that I don't participate. But yet and still, this still brings me to my point that a woman understands her place in this world. Regardless of how she acts, regardless of how she behaves, regardless of the things that she does or doesn't do and the choices that she makes, she understands what her position in this world is to be. Now, the thing of that is that once again, they push back on their own existence. This is very strange to me because no one forced you to be what you are. No one forced you to be what you choose not to be. No one forces you in this existence of what you are. It just is. It's neither good nor bad. It's just the way it is. But yet and still, women do not want to take largely the agency over their own existence. They want someone else to prop them up in the position that they believe that they should be in, while taking no action of their own other than running their mouths about how life should be. This is a very, very reactionary thing. Because remember, reaction involves that something else is in the process first. Now, people would say, well, a woman speaking up about her own existence is the action. I could argue that. And I would accept that. But yet and still, it is something that does not affect the physical, tangible world. You can scream all up and down all that you want about what you believe in, but if nobody's willing to hear you, what effect does it really have on the actual reality? It takes someone else reacting in order to put your actual words, and that's the gray area. But to put your actual words into motion, if you will not do that for yourself. And what I mean by the gray area is that there is a area in between where one speaks and one thinks and one actually does. And those areas are very gray at times because it doesn't apply to everything unilaterally in the way that you would expect it to, in so many words. But when a woman speaks, this is reactionary because she is only speaking about her environment, right? And that's the thing that we need to understand about men, about us as well, men, that the direction that we want to go in life, yes, you should include definitely some environmental effects in that. But really, we are the ones who oppose the environment. We don't care about what the environment is. We're going to shape it into the way that we want. This is the reason why we are the action takers, because women are nesters. In order to nest, you have to have an environment, which means that your nesting is reactionary. It is not something that is a consequence of your own free will necessarily. It is you picking the position that you believe is best fitted for you within this niche of society, and you saying, this is where I want to be, regardless of if that's tangible or not. Once again, a woman's words, she expects them to affect change. Sometimes they can, and we have seen politically that be the case. But for the most part, when it comes to a woman's words about her own interpersonal life, they don't really mean anything. Yeah, she can henpeck a dude to death, but is that an existence that she really wants to have? Because to my knowledge, and I've heard this plenty of times, there's a little meme that's going around out there. She says that if you did it right the first time, then she wouldn't henpeck you, right? She wouldn't nag you, right? Women don't want to nag. They want things to just be. Remember, I said in earlier videos that women are receivers. They're not necessarily ones who like to actually work for their existence. They just like to receive things because they exist. This is no agency, once again, because this implies that everybody else around you is actually doing the work and you're not doing anything to contribute to the position that you want to be in life. Now, I do understand taking the easiest route, definitely, but at the point where you take the easiest route, then you cannot be so critical of that route. You know, that's just the way it is. And what I mean by this is that a lot of women want things to come easy, but they don't want the consequences of those things. They don't want people to say, oh yeah, you didn't work for anything. You just got that because you're pretty. You didn't actually do anything to actually get what you got, or whatever the case may be. I mean, there are certain people who believe that women who lay down for cash aren't doing the hard work that they're doing when they go to their 9 to 5, and therefore there's no equivalency to the amount of work that it takes for them to get the same amount of cash. But that could be anecdotal. Once again, you know, we live in a society where everything is judged and some things are lower or higher depending on the individual. But nonetheless, women know their place. Women know their place in this world. This is the reason why I don't necessarily deal with women who pretend and act as though they have some type of authority in this world over men. You know your place. I made a video about my authority is my light. You understand exactly what that means, no matter how many times I say it or don't say it, because once again, things are just the way they're supposed to be. A lot of times, you know, and even in the Black community, that's the way it's supposed to be, because that's the way we as men allowed it to be, you know. And people would argue with that and say, well, you know, Jim Crow, slavery, all these things. I understand that definitely, that we had no authority over our women since we've been in this country. But the one thing that we've had authority over is ourselves. And this is the way of the 53% of men who are never married and don't have any children. They're taking action. They're not being reactive to anything. They see the environment and they want to create a new one. SYSBM, right? They don't care about what that environment is. They're creating their own environments. And this is the way that men are doing things. They're actions over reactions. That's where a woman wants you. She wants you to be very reactionary, because when you become reactionary, she's been practicing this reaction so long, she's a master at it. So when you're new to the game and reacting to the things that she does, oh, she got you. But that's not where you should be as a man, because she knows that. That's the reason why you get the outcomes that you do with women, because you're reacting instead of taking lead and action in their lives. Not saying that they have no agency now that you're the actor and they are the reactor, but that she understands that you're out of your place in life, that you're reacting. She knows her place. That means you should definitely know yours. But anyways, like, comment, and share. Check me out on Facebook. Check me out on Patreon. But until next time, this has been A Wolf in Better Clothes. And of course, you know it. May peace be with you.